Pride versus humility. Now, this is honestly, truly a very spiritual message. And I'm being led by the Spirit of God, but, I'm telling you, pride versus humility. And yeah, God is leading me to do this message because a lot of people are in the pride of life, and pride comes before the fall. And honestly, what God is talking about fall, he doesn't just mean like you will fall short of him. You will literally fall spiritually, mentally, and in so many areas. Pride will just block you from God. And then when we get into humility, like it just deals with, honestly being humble. And a lot of people are not humble because pride comes before the fall. So many people walk in pride thinking as if they know something, but it takes humility to get insight. It takes humility to move the heart of God. It takes humility to humble yourself. And many people are just not humble. And, in the last days, God said that men would become lovers of themselves. And that is really honestly dealing with pride. So pride versus humility. Yeah, I mean, it's a real matter. And, the Spirit of God has got me doing this message because, pride is a very dangerous spirit. Pride is honestly a demon, and it comes from the enemy. And the enemy wants you to walk in pride so you will not hear God, so you will not fear God, so you will miss what God is saying in your life. But pride truly comes before the fall. And God is God is honestly emphasizing that fall in many scenarios, and many people just fall short of God overall by being in pride, because pride is basically saying that you cannot be told anything, but you in reality you can, because no matter how much insight you get, like, you still can be told something, but many people walk around in pride as if they are smarter than God, and that is not the case, And me personally, I've always been a humble person, if I'm being real with you, because, I know I can be told something, and you can learn from a little kid. You can learn from, you can learn from the littlest child, a newborn. You can learn from a circumstance. There's so many ways that God can give you insight. And pride versus humility, getting back to that, yeah. Majority of beings and people are walking in pride. And that's why God's Spirit has got me doing this, because, doing this message, because, yeah, I mean, God wants his people to walk in humility, meaning being humble, because otherwise you're going to frustrate God and his Spirit. And yeah, man, I mean, once again, I cannot quench his Spirit and what he is speaking through me. And also, just when it comes to a circumstance, when God is speaking or trying to do something, you cannot try to put it off, basically, of what God is doing, because he talks about quenching his Spirit. He talks about that. He said, quench not. He said, quench. He said he does not want you to quench his Spirit. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, getting back to pride and humility, like, yeah, this stuff is real, and many people are gonna miss heaven overall too, because they are prideful beings. And when you stand before God, he is going to tell you this himself in numerous of ways, but he's more or less still gonna tell you this himself, that you are a prideful being and you could not be told anything. So yeah, man, I mean, pride versus humility, man, it's, like I said, it's we are up against a lot of spirits, and pride versus humility And pride is coming from the enemy. It's not coming from God, because God is always going to be able to teach you. No matter how high you go, you still have to be humble. Because he said, if you humble yourself, he will exalt you in due season. But if you exalteth yourself, you shall be abased, meaning being lowered down. Because none of us will ever arrive or rise above God. And that's what you have to realize, no matter who you are hearing this. So, I mean, a lot of women walk in pride, a lot of men walk in pride, and God is tired of it, you know. And I cannot, once again, quench God's spirit. And yeah, man, this stuff is real. So pride versus humility. Yeah, I mean, and I always ask God to humble me more and more, because I'm telling you now, like, God is very much deeper than what you envision him to be. And he's much deeper than the Bible, and he's much deeper than, all this stuff going on in this earth realm. And pride versus humility. And pride is going to cause you to miss what God is doing. It's going to cause you to, honestly, it's going to cause you to not be in alignment with him, and it's going to frustrate God, and eventually you will end up under his wrath. And majority of you beings and people are under his wrath. Once again, I've already mentioned this before, but it is a realistic spiritual matter. And yeah, I mean, pride versus humility. So I just felt led to do this because, once again, many people are not humble. They're not walking in humility. And if God humbles you, once he has to humble you, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And I'm just being very real with you, because I know I'm very aware how God truly operates. And man, I mean, it's not a game. God is not a game, and that's what many people don't understand. But with all that being said, peace.